One of the big questions is, what is money?
Practical purposes, it exists in a series of heterogeneous databases, very different databases.
Do you believe in crypto?
Digital currency may be an answer, but it is the highly speculative asset.
I do own Bitcoin.
There is no second best.
Welcome to the Crypto Curious podcast. Every Wednesday, we dive into the dynamic world of cryptocurrency. If you're new to the space, we recommend going back to the early episodes where we break down the basics and give you a solid foundation to understand the crypto world. And for the Crypto Curious, the seasoned addict and the industry insiders, we're here to help you unpack the latest in the digital space. This week on the show, Trump finally signs an executive order for a Bitcoin reserve. What did that do to the markets? We also speak about the crypto summit at the White House last Friday and some more exciting news. Coinbase tokenized securities play. Is this a new era for crypto and TradFi? My name's Tracy, and this week I'm joined by Blake and Craig, my co-hosts, to bring you all that news and a heap of short, sharp news bites. Also, welcome to the show, boys. How you going?
Great to be back, Trace. So much going on this week. And just a friendly reminder to all of those that are listening, we are now on YouTube as well, so you can see Craig's smile shimmer. And viewer beware, make sure your screen has been dimmed because we don't want any squinting injuries from the viewers. Craig, how you doing?
Squinting injuries?
Well, it'll be so bright, mate.
Yeah. How are you, Craig? You're looking a little bit tired today, we said, coming in here. You're normally, Captain Sparkly, but you're a bit tired today. You're tired of this market, you said.
Tired of this market. Trump needs to be impeached. Look, it's a tough one, but, let's cover it off. Is it actually over? I want to discuss this today with you, Trace.
Time to pack it up, ladies and gents.
Please, is it over? Oh my God, drama.
I've learned to manage my emotions, actually. And this morning I was like, wow, it might actually be over. So I bought more.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
So hopefully I've counter traded well.
Oh, that's a top.
So this is a top signal. That's not financial advice, obviously, but good to hear. Let's jump in then to our first story. As I said up the top there, Trump made one of his biggest bold moves yet when it comes to crypto, and that was signing an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We spoke about this briefly last week, but if it wasn't enough, he also followed this up with the crypto summit at the White House. This was last Friday. This brought in some of the biggest names in the industry, and it was billed as one of the most historic moments in crypto, but it was a bit of a letdown, I think, boys, wasn't it?
Well, I think it's a massive move and a step in the right direction. The US government said they're not going to sell any of the Bitcoin that they've seized, about 200,000 Bitcoins, and they're going to have a stockpile of digital assets as well, which make up other shitcoins like Ethereum and Solana. This is a massive step, but I think lots of people were expecting that the US government would go ahead and purchase additional Bitcoins beyond what they already have. But there is a little bit of a loophole that they've given themselves in the drafting of the executive order to say that they will take budget neutral strategies to acquire more Bitcoins, which we could explore in a bit more detail. It could mean many different things, but overall it's great news. But what we're seeing is the macro environment or the broader economy suffering right now, and as a result, crypto has suffered.
And Craig is suffering.
Yes, exactly, Trace. But yeah, I agree with you, Blake. It is obviously a step in the right direction. People need to forget, we're only 2 months into his administration. So for him to commit to the purchasing bill that was put on the table last year, I think it's still too early to expect that.
And what do you mean by that purchasing bill, Craig?
Yeah, so there was a Wisconsin Senator, Cynthia, I forget her last name, Loomis. She put forward a bill that would purchase, was it 10,000 Bitcoin every year for the next 5 years or something like that?
200,000 Bitcoins a year.
Yeah, so that's a lot. That's a lot of Bitcoin. I think the market was holding out for potentially that to come through this time around. Turns out it hasn't, but I think we can only be bullish by this news. And this as well, another news that didn't even make it was that Texas actually also passed a bill that they would establish a strategic reserve. And they're the biggest or the second biggest state in terms of GDP in America.
And I think they had the 8th largest economy in the world, just Texas themselves.
So they're massive. That's a massive deal. It just feels like fundamentally, the space has never been in a better position. Like Ethereum today hit the same price as it did on the FTX collapse. And you look at the two fundamental things that are going for it back then versus now, it just feels like the market has really panicked
Mm.
over the last few days.
Yeah, that's right. And there is speculation going around that Trump's really imposing these tariffs on other countries in order to force the Federal Reserve to drop interest rates and give a bit of relief to the market. But in the interim, it's causing chaos in markets, and as a result, crypto's suffering.
Like you said, other markets aren't doing too well. We saw $1.5 trillion fall from the stock market just in the last 24 hours, and that does roll on through to the crypto markets as well. So we are feeling a bit of pain there.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing I want to touch on about that summit was actually the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He said that the US will seek to use stable coins to ensure that the US dollar remains the world's global reserve currency. Now, that kind of didn't get as much news as it should have, because I think that's a huge step into potentially stable coins becoming that settlement layer that we've spoken about for, it feels like, since the start of this whole thing.
Yeah, I think it's a great move. At the same time, I think this is, in counteraction to CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies, but rather allowing the market to create these products, these tech settlement layers like stable coins to meet a similar ends. In the last week, we've seen Europe come out and say that they're going to issue a central bank digital currency for the euro, which, there's lots of people concerned about privacy and the way that that can be used. For example, pausing someone's payments if they have outstanding fines or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, it's massive news. And that was one of the strategic things that the Crypto Council needed to get done this year, was to draft legislation around market structure, but also stable coins. So it looks like they're going to deliver on that. And Trump said that they will be having that draft legislation done by August, I think, which is a great move for the US.
So do you want to maybe recap then how we're feeling about that strategic reserve announcement and the crypto summit and where we sit right now with the macro?
Well, I think when we had Kane on the show last week, he made a really good point that introducing the Bitcoin reserve and the buying of Bitcoin is quite hard to unwind if it doesn't work. So he thinks it's actually bullish that it's taking its time for it to play out. And I actually tend to agree. Like, we're only 2 months into the administration. I think the market has just maybe got a little bit overheated late last year, and we're looking for reasons to dump. And I think the macro environment that you're speaking about, Tracy, has played into that. But I think fundamentally it's hard not to be optimistic around the direction the space is headed.
And I also feel that we are having a little bit of a purge or a cleanup. We've spoken to our audience recently about the meme coin demise and, the demise of Pump Fund. And both guests that we've had recently, you mentioned Kane, and the week before we had Zeneca, both talking about the fact that meme coins you've had their time and are coming away. And I think the market's been cleaned up a little bit. People are looking to more solid utility projects. And I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that I saw a post about Pump Fund. Their volume is down like 99% or something like that. It just shows that no one's speculating on meme coins at this point in time. And what was that famous fund manager, Craig, last year that came out at Token 2049 that we saw speak? Murad. And he had a thesis that meme coins were going to be the main driver to this cycle. And of course they played a part, but I think his fund is like 80% down now. So I wonder how he's feeling.
And I guess as well as that, Kane, again, that barbell strategy he was talking about last week, like, it's totally right. Like, it feels like on one side we have just the PvP Murads buying, they're already in crypto, just looking for cheap, quick gains. On the other side, we have institutions and ETFs, but it doesn't feel like the normies or like the mum and dads that we've seen in the previous cycles have sort of entered the market yet. And I think that's due to the macro environment of high interest rates. But what do I know? I'm just trying to figure it out like you guys, folks. We don't know what's
That's what
happening.
we do. Sit here and try and break it all down so a little bit more palatable for you guys listening here. Let's maybe move on to our next story, folks, and that is Coinbase So the regulatory framework has finally changed for Coinbase and they're ready to go ahead with their tokenized assets. Now, I know, Craig, this is a favorite of yours. You asked me to include this one today. Why are we getting excited?
Well, I love this idea of 24/7 stock trading, and I guess it's only possible on the blockchain because it's obviously 24/7 settlement. There's no middleman. And Coinbase is looking to be on the front foot with this. They've tried it before, as you mentioned, Trace. But I think this is a whole wider conversation. Larry Fink as well, he's also discussed real world assets on chain in the form of bonds, real estate funds. So I think this is the final state of crypto. But I was mentioning in the group chats earlier this week that if Coinbase can be on the front foot with this, they're going to own the crypto market. They're going to own all the institutional custody of crypto and even potentially stock settlement in the crypto form. So I think this is going to be huge if they can pull it off. What do you think, Blake?
Yeah, I have some questions about this. So you bought some? Did you say you used a decentralized exchange to buy some? Is that right?
No.
Were you going to?
Today I read that there was a Coinbase stock that was tokenized on Base. So I went on there to have a look.
And Base is Coinbase's blockchain.
Yes, there is a bit of a spread right now. It's about 5%. And the liquidity behind the back token was like 140 grand. So I just thought I might not do it this time. Like, it doesn't seem very secure or seems to be the best bang for buck right now. I might just buy the stock as a traditional boomer. But I think it's going to get to that point where if Coinbase can do it and not some random base provider, then we'll be in a good spot.
I think it brings into play some securities laws that haven't necessarily been an issue for decentralized finance so far. Whereas, if you're trading equities, it's regulated differently than digital assets more broadly. And they would require a license to sell securities and maybe even a markets license to run an exchange for them. And there's a bunch of compliance. And so I'd be surprised if Coinbase set this up and they don't have those, frameworks and licensing in place already. So yeah, if this is just happening in a fully decentralized way, what happens to the share certificate, for example? Does it have your name on it? Whose name is on it? Is it owned by a third party that manages the secondary market?
I can't imagine this being like a decentralized exchange phenomenon. Like, I think these tokenized stocks will probably only be on exchanges where you are KYC'd and all of that good stuff. But can you imagine in a few years if all this gets through and then Apple, the NASDAQ is available because, for us, for example, for us to buy the NASDAQ, we have to kind of wait till 10:30 at night to put a buy in to get it through when the market opens, where, we can get to a state where it can be 24/7.
It's also not as, easily available on all platforms as well. It's quite hard to buy. Not all platforms are, it's not easy to buy PayPal and Coin.
It's not easy as well because, especially crypto, like it's an immediate settlement. Like today I sold some ASX stocks. It's going to take me 2 business days for those funds to settle. Then I have to transfer that into US, wait for that to settle, and then buy coin. Whereas in this tokenized world, it will be ETH, tether straight away, tether into coin.
I think you're right too, Blake. I think maybe they do have this already set up as far as the legals go, because they, like we said, they did want to try this back in 2020, but they couldn't because of the headwinds. So could happen quicker than we think. Well, there you go. Interesting. We'll keep an eye on that one. We'll leave it there. And when we come back, we have a load of short, sharp news bites to get through. Here's Steve Smith buying a coffee. He's actually also investing in crypto at the same time, using Bamboo. You take care of drinking coffee with your mates. We'll take care of investing the small change. Start investing your change today with Bamboo. Welcome back. You're listening to the Crypto Curious podcast. Time now for our short, sharp news bites brought to you by the Bamboo app. I think I'll let Blake go first because he mentioned this story during the week about the Bybit hackers.
The Bybit hackers laundered 499,000 Ethereum in just 10 days. So the hackers that exploited Bybit have used a Thorchain, which is a swaps platform and a blockchain, to launder their money and swap it into other assets. And that just really surprised me how much liquidity there is there. And Thorchain generated $5.5 million in fees as a result of that. So there's been a bit of a call to Thorchain to provide these funds back to the Bybit and the affected customers, which I think opens a massive can of worms if the DeFi protocols become expected to give this revenues back.
Setting precedent.
Yeah, what do you guys think about this? Should they, is it the right thing to do? Should they give the cash back, the fees that they generated from stolen funds?
I mean, look, I think it's going to come down to them personally. They might give a nominal fee to, but they can't give everyone's fund back. So no, is my opinion here, because who are they going to return it to?
To Bybit.
Yeah, but who are Bybit going to return those fees to?
They've covered it off
it's
their
covered,
balance
it's
sheet.
done. I think there should be like a give it to Zach.
Well, Ben from Bybit, they published all the addresses, and they even made a public call for decentralized platforms to blacklist these addresses. So the fact that Thorchain didn't do that, it seems it's either lazy or it's lax, or I'm not quite sure. But yeah, that's a crazy amount of money to put through in 10 days.
Maybe not great PR for Thorchain. Okay, what's up next, Craig David?
Yeah, Trey. So Kraken is eyeing a 2026 IPO as the regulatory climate shifts in the US. So we've only had one of these in the past, which is, of course, Coinbase in 2021. Now, Kraken, which is also a US-based exchange and one of the OGs, have been around, probably one of the longest serving exchanges and trustworthy in the market. Yeah, they're looking to IPO. So that's a huge change in stance of what they've had a few years ago. I know they had an SEC lawsuit that they were figuring out, but now they're looking to launch on the stock exchange. So let's see how they perform.
Up next, SBF or Sam Bankman-Fried. He had an appearance on Tucker Carlton's podcast this week. Very interesting. I actually saw it and I thought it was not real, but yes. So he jumped on there apparently without permission of the prison as well, and if rumours are true, he got sent to solitary confinement after because he said some things he shouldn't have. But what he did say, in a nutshell, it went for a couple of hours as well, so he said a lot. So have a look at that if you'd like to. We'll put the show notes below. But he said that the Republican Party, who he did donate a lot of money to, was part of his downfall for some reason. He also said that Gary Gensler was also part of the problem. So he blamed those guys for all of his woes. And he went on to talk about life in jail and how things were going.
And he's bunked up with Diddy.
Apparently.
That's
That is just hilarious and so crazy.
Yeah. I don't know about the quality of the water in jail too, because his hair was very flat. He's obviously not paying for any shampoo and conditioner in there, but yeah, it was interesting.
And, I think I saw a snippet there sort of talking about how if they allowed the market to recover, there would have been tens of billions of dollars of surplus, but the liquidators sold massive amounts of crypto and assets at huge discounts. A little bit conspiratorial, but to groups that bought these assets at, potentially 80, 90% below current market value, which is wild.
His parents are still talking to Trump's folks about getting him a pardon at the same time.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't either. But it was definitely clear he was playing for that in the interview.
Just
Craig?
in what you mentioned, Blake, I feel like he maybe signed the whole bankruptcy thing a bit too early, because some of his AI investments that the FTX Ventures made went completely gangbusters, and they would have made more than enough to pay customers back. Crazy. If he gets a pardon, I think that's going to be really bad PR for Trump, and I can't see that
Don't
happening.
think that happening. What's up next, Blake?
All right, Athena Labs, which has a stable coin that they create that's become wildly popular in the DeFi ecosystem, has surpassed $300 million in revenue, becoming top 5 DeFi protocols by total value locked. They're making an average of $50 million a month, which is huge, and reaching $6 billion in their stable coin, which is also pretty big. So these guys are just going strength to strength. I saw something the other day that they're working with some of the largest financial institutions like BlackRock to create new products. We reported a little while ago that they're creating a stablecoin just for Telegram, which has hundreds of millions of monthly users. And this project is just going to strength to strength. It's going to be a DeFi boss, really.
Yeah, it's awesome. What else, Craig?
I got an interesting one. The Reddit co-founder is eyeing a TikTok buyout with blockchain integration. So the co-founder has expressed interest in acquiring TikTok and putting it on chain, which is part of this broader Project Liberty Initiative, which is a group that is advocating for the decentralized takeover of the social media giant. It's being dubbed as the People's Bid. Now, this would be so fun to talk about and see what happens, because TikTok has obviously come under scrutiny with data provisions, with gaming, with payments. And it would be such an interesting case study if this actually went through and how TikTok could potentially bring all of that on chain. But I will say it is on Frequency, which is a blockchain built on Polkadot, which is a name I haven't heard in a few years.
Poker who?
Polkadot what? So I guess we just wait and see if this goes through, but this would be very interesting to speculate if it does.
Yeah, that is very cool. Him and his wife are kicking goals. I think Serena's buying a women's basketball team. So there you go. And look, I'll give you some cool numbers in the next one. Only 4% of the world's population holds Bitcoin. This has come out in a 2025 report.
Bitcoin or crypto?
Well, it says Bitcoin
Okay.
in this report, which is probably quite high in the early stage of adoption that we're in, considering how volatile things are. Would you think that's high?
I think that's high.
I'd say that's low.
Okay. 14% of individuals own Bitcoin in Africa. It's very, very high. Okay, interesting. And on that too, I wanted to quickly talk about Sui as well as a surge.
So Sui is a layer 1 blockchain, ultra fast, an Ethereum killer, a Solana killer, an AVAX killer, Polkadot killer. What else is going to kill, Tracy?
Oh, I don't know. It's killing everyone else in the charts at the moment because one of the only ones in the green. I think, what was the World Liberty Finance announced this week? Yes, that they were in partnership and it saw a big jump, 10% on that news, and it's doing relatively well. So it's not all doom and gloom in the markets with Sui surging on that news this week.
It's pretty down only right now. It's down 7% just quietly.
Captain
I
Positive.
was just about to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Just
Captain
quietly.
Positive. Okay.
Okay, guys, funny one. So FIFA were at this crypto asset summit meeting for some reason. They had a trophy there. Trump was very bullish on FIFA. He said, it's a beautiful trophy. It's amazing. It's right here at home. And the president, Gianni Infantino, has spruiked the idea of a FIFA coin. And Trump's very bullish on it. As he said, it's going to go up. It's going to be more. It's going to be worth more than FIFA itself. As Tracy mentioned, FIFA World Cup will be in America next year, and Trump will be presenting the World Cup trophy to the winner, which will be very memeable when that happens.
And since then, in fact, in the news yesterday, FIFA came out and said they are now considering doing a proper FIFA coin, because on that news, some speculative FIFA coin that was already out went up to, I think, 300 million or something.
We don't need more coins.
We don't need any coins, no, but FIFA is apparently considering it. So there you go. And on that news, we will, I think, finish the show. Any other parting bits of news?
We have a Stanley crypto event in a
Yes.
couple of weeks here in Western Australia. If you are on the West Coast, please come join us. We'll leave the information in the show notes.
Come along. Come and chat with us on Wednesday the 26th, I think it is. So, yeah, we'll put some more details in the show notes. But again, thanks for joining us, folks. There is lots of information always in our Facebook group. You can also join our Instagram page. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to us now. If you'd like to DCA into the crypto world, take a look at the Bamboo app. You can use the code CURIOUS and get yourself $10 of free Bitcoin. There will be a link in the show notes below. And that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.